Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Public Safety Natural Resource Transportation Joint Subcommittee. We will start by asking the Secretary to please call the roll.
Assemblywoman Miller.
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblywoman Peters.
Here.
Assemblywoman Titus.
Here.
Assemblywoman Tolles.
Here.
Assemblyman Watts.
Here.
Senator Brooks.
Here.
Senator Goycochea.
Here.
Chair Dennis.
Did we lose BPS?
I'm sorry, Chair Dennis. Sorry for the interruption. Were you asking for BPS?
All right, I lost my audio there for a second. Did we finish? I didn't get to hear.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Just a reminder, everybody remain muted when you're not talking. And if you have a question, just put it in the chat if you'd like to ask a question. Before we begin, I want to explain how the virtual committee meetings work. As you know, we're currently closed to the public, and so all committee meetings will be held virtually, meaning committee members, staff, and everyone else will participate either through Zoom conference or by telephone. However, there are various ways members of the public can engage with us and participate throughout the process. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on the Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, or we call it NELIS, which is accessible from the legislature's website. 4 ways to engage with the committee is to register to participate through the new NELIS system, which places you in line to testify on a bill or provide public comment. Submitting written testimony to us through email address or fax listed on the agenda. Share your opinion via the legislature opinion application, or viewing committees online through NELIS or on the legislature's YouTube channel. During the 2021 legislative session, to testify on a bill or provide public comment, members of the public must first register for the meeting you would like to participate in. And the committee meetings are listed in several places in NELIS, and you can simply click to participate, and it'll ask you for the information you need to register. And just to note that while meeting registration is required to participate, it does not guarantee you'll be able to speak. Similar to previous sessions, testimony and public comment may be limited due to time constraints. When you're on the phone line, please pay attention to which bill is being considered, follow verbal prompts provided with BPS so you know which keys to press, and staff will call on you to speak by the last 3 digits of your phone number. Detailed instructions for participating are also available on the help page. And if you need assistance with any of these processes or would like to receive electronic notification, please contact the committee manager. So with that, we are going to today, we have the subcommittee going to hear a presentation from the Department of Motor Vehicles on 6 budget accounts. And so we invite the DMV Director, Julie Butler, to begin her presentation when she's ready.
Good morning, Chair Dennis, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Julie Butler, Director of the Department of Motor Vehicles. With me today is Stu Tarrin, my Deputy Director, and several division administrators to present their individual budget accounts. Today, the department I will be starting with presenting the Director's Office Budget Account 4744. The Director's Office establishes the policies and directs and controls the operations of the 7 divisions that make up the Department of Motor Vehicles. The office also provides key support functions, including information security and human resources. The Director's Office has 19 authorized full-time equivalent employees and is located in Carson City. I'd like to highlight the following decision units in this budget account for the subcommittee's consideration. Decision Unit E605 eliminates one vacant public information officer position as a cost-saving measure. The duties of this position have been absorbed by others within the department and will be further streamlined by purchasing the records request software in Decision Unit E243. Decision Unit E243 requests $6,705 in fiscal year 22 and $6,190 in FY23 to share a software as a service subscription to the GovQA platform within the DMV records budget. The GovQA platform provides a centralized internet portal through which all records requests can be submitted, monitored, and tracked. The department receives thousands of records requests on a daily basis. Examples of typical requests include public records requests under the Nevada Open Records Act, statistical data such as how many vehicles are registered in a specific county, individuals requesting their own driver or vehicle records and paying for that information per request, and individuals and businesses requesting the driver or vehicle records of another person for a business purpose as authorized by statute and paying for that information per request. The GovQA software as a service platform will provide a centralized internet portal through which all records requests are submitted. With centralized tracking through the GovQA platform, it will allow the department to better monitor the number of records requests received, the staff time spent on fulfilling records requests, the revenue received from such requests, and the timeliness and accuracy with which the department fulfills these requests. Currently, the department is only able to guess at such metrics and runs the risk of requests falling through the cracks because of different channels through which the requests are received and the manual method of responding. Decision Unit E729 requests $8,789 in each year of the biennium to fund Microsoft Office 365 licenses for all staff in the Director's Office. This is per Enterprise IT Services Initiative to have all executive branch agencies on the same platform. Finally, E901 requests to transfer a software license from the Director's Office to the Field Services Division to align the use of that software license with the division that benefits from the license. That concludes my presentation on the Director's Office Budget Account 4744. I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Great, thank you. Could I have Senator Brooks, can you ask the first question on this one?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Dennis. Good morning, Director Butler. How are you doing this morning? What I'm concerned with is, could you please talk about the recent trends for highway fund revenue and how those projections for the biennium were developed?
Thank you, Senator Brooks, through you, Chair Dennis, to you, Senator Brooks. In terms of the department's revenue, the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting office closures have obviously had a pretty substantial impact on the department's revenue collections. Total revenues collected for fiscal year 20 were down 4.76% overall compared to fiscal year 19 actuals. It might have been worse, but the department devised a method for applying revenues collected in fiscal year 21 back to FY20. And this is in cases where maybe a person's vehicle registration, for example, expired in June, but they couldn't get into the office until, say, maybe August. Well, really, we should have realized that revenue back in June. So we devised this method to kind of move the money between the fiscal years. What that helped us to do was to bolster FY20 collections and realize more of the revenue in the appropriate time period. And it also allowed us to get more accurate actuals year to date for fiscal year 21. We are projecting another decrease of approximately 3%, 2.96% to be exact, below FY20 actuals for fiscal year 21 for a total projected collection of $1.48 billion. This decrease that we're projecting is largely due to that movement of the money between the fiscal years that I talked about just a bit ago. We recently received new numbers from the state economist with respect to governmental services tax revenue, and we also made some adjustments in the license plate factories budget. So we are projecting in fiscal year 22 a very slight decrease in revenues followed by an essentially flat projection in revenues for fiscal year 23. A slight percentage increase, 0.16%, but for all intents and purposes, essentially flat. So maybe seeing some relief toward the latter end of the next biennium.
Excuse me, thank you. And I know that that in March, I guess it is March of this year, there will be updated projections for revenues. And if you see an increase in those updated projections, have you identified a list of cuts that you would like to restore? And if so, could you please provide those to LCB and this committee so that we can take those into consideration?
Thank you, through you, Chair Dennis, to Senator Brooks. We will be updating our revenue projections in March and providing those. The department has historically done that for finalization of budgets that rely on the highway fund revenue. We will be doing that this time. If we identify, or if those projections look better than they do right now, or better than we submitted our budget, we would work with the Governor's Finance Office to prioritize things we would want to get back, and either, depending on what they would like to do, either request to submit a budget amendment or work with LCB fiscal staff to submit a technical adjustment to the budget.
Thank you. And obviously, we'd want to have the justifications for those decisions when you submit that, just for our review. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions on this particular item? Senator Goicoechea, I see your hand. You're muted.
All right, I'm up now. I pushed the space bar. It usually takes me off temporary, but it doesn't seem to, sometimes it doesn't work. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. I'm getting calls from some people, Ms. Butler, that are reflecting they either didn't get the reminder or they failed to register their vehicle last year, and now they're seeing significant penalties. What kind of a trend are we seeing there, and is that going to recover some of it? Some of the horror stories I'm getting, of course, are, they're getting charged 3 times as much because they clearly didn't. All of a sudden they pulled their registration, they realized it's been expired for a year, and they've got a huge penalty in place, even though they couldn't access the office. I'm just curious, are we going to see a significant bulge there?
Thank you for the question, through you, Chair Dennis, to Senator Goicoechea. We are seeing some individuals face some penalties for failure to timely register. In most cases, a simple vehicle renewal can be completed online for the majority of people. Now, realizing that the constituents you represent are in more of the rural areas, might not have that internet connectivity, there may be some challenges there. We have, depending on the situation and the circumstances, my field services personnel are kind of addressing this on a case-by-case basis. For those really in more of the urban areas of the Reno and the Las Vegas areas, at this point, we've had online registration renewal on our website, and it's been enabled for several years. And the department kind of has to draw the line somewhere and say, well, it's available, and that's the expectation, is that you would use it. And it's really ultimately up to the customer to know when his or her vehicle is expiring. And so again, we do see some of those penalties. In some cases we waive them, in some cases we don't. I don't think we're seeing some big windfall of penalties, to really answer your question directly.
You don't think it'd be significant? And I can tell my constituents to go ahead and contact the field office and see if there is some conditions that you might be able to waive. Thank you so much.
Again, Julie Butler for the record, if you want to reach out to me offline, and we're happy to work with your constituents and look into their individual situations and see if some relief is warranted.
Thank you, but I'll probably let them go ahead and go with you rather than get in the middle. But thank you, Ms. Butler.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? Okay, let's go on to the next one, the E605, Assemblyman Watts.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how the public information officer's functions have been absorbed by others, and how do you see the department's public relations functions changing as the system transformation efforts move forward?
Thank you for the question, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblyman Watts. To meet available projected revenues, when we submitted the budget, the department made the difficult decision to cut one of its public information officer positions. It's a PIO1 position, and it was vacant at the time. And unfortunately, with the department's reliance on highway funds for its budget, this was really the only cut that the department could make, or this particular budget account could make, to meet the totals overall that we needed to get to. The work of this position has been mainly absorbed by our Public Information Officer 2 position, and to a lesser extent, there's been a couple other positions within the department. There is the Deputy Administrator of our Management Services and Programs Division, and the department would actually like to rename that division to Research and Project Management, and that's in a separate bill draft request. Public outreach and media campaigns are going to be essential for our transformation effort. And we know this, as we move more services online, it's going to require an incredible amount of continued communication to the public. What we foresee happening is continued reliance on our contracted advertising agency to get out those media campaigns, and particularly social media campaigns. We also, our existing PIO2 is going to have to be more strategic with his communications. And we also see the public records request tracking software that we are requesting in A243 also playing a role in helping to better track and keep track of the time that our PIOs spend on these public records requests. Some of them are incredibly extensive and time consuming, and being able to better track the status of those through this software will actually help to with absorbing some of those duties.
Thank you for the clarification, Director. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any other, Assemblywoman Tolles.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I should have been louder with my hand raised. So this is actually back on the previous budget item, and I just want to clarify as a follow-up to Vice Chair Brooks's questions in regards to prioritization. I know that we're projected to go over the 22% cap in in fiscal year 2023. And just wondering if part of that prioritization, if we anticipate that we're going to get more revenue, if we think that would possibly bring us back under the cap.
Thank you for the question. Julie Butler for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Tolles. We are hoping, and we have submitted a budget bill draft request to maintain the cap at its current 27% in fiscal year 23. Over the last 5 fiscal years or so, the cap has been raised to 27% to account for the department's IT modernization efforts. And with our transformation effort, we're going to need that cap to be raised to that 27%. To continue moving the services online. If we are required to keep it at the 22%, then we're going to need to work with Governor's Finance Office and legislative fiscal staff to rework the budget request.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that preview. So I know that the cap is set to sunset in fiscal year 2022. So this would be to extend it permanently, or would it be to extend that sunset out for another couple years specifically for the purpose of that technology enhancement?
Julie Butler again for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Tolles. We have proposed in our budget BDR to maintain that 27% through the anticipated lifespan of the project, which is through the end of fiscal year 2026. So through 2026.
Great. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it.
Other ones that I might have missed? I don't see any. Okay, I want to ask on your the Office 365. How's that going to? I know we gave you some money last time. I think 200 some odd thousand to do your survey and figure out what you needed to do to transition to Office 365. How is that going to change the workload for your IT staff to transition over to this Office 365?
Thank you for the question, Julie Butler again. This actually received some money last session to distribute out to agencies to hire Microsoft consultants to assist agencies with transitioning to Office 365. And so the department, our IT staff is actually engaged and used some of that funding to engage with the Microsoft consultant to help us with transitioning. With what we know today about the effort involved, and given Enterprise IT Services has transitioned several agencies now, we're not the first ones to undergo this. We anticipate relying on their expertise and internal staff's expertise and absorbing the impact of this workload to transition in our timeline. We've already begun some conversations and meetings with Enterprise IT Services on this effort. Some work has already begun behind the scenes in terms of syncing up email accounts, and we have our own version of Active Directory, so does EATS, and trying to get those in sync. So that's already begun, and assuming this body funds the licenses, we would acquire those in July, and it's our intention to be implemented in December of 2021 with existing resources.
So with the with EATS, does EATS help support your Office 365, or is it going to be all in-house, the support?
Julie Butler for the record, it's Chair Dennis, it's my understanding that EATS will help us with that transition, but yes, I'm just looking over at my IT administrator. He's giving me the thumbs up that yes, our Enterprise IT Services will be assisting with this transition. They've done several executive branch agencies before us, so we are confident. We also have an individual on staff who worked with his former agency on the transition to Office 365, and albeit a smaller agency, we do have some in-house staff that have actually undergone the transition and can lend some assistance with this effort.
So do you think that the governor's recommended budget gives you sufficient revenue or sufficient budget to address your workload of that switching over to that, plus in addition the other things that they're already doing?
Julie Butler again for the record, thank you for the question. We do anticipate with the Office 365 transition that we will be able to handle that within existing resources. I will say, however, we are with each bill that comes through that impacts the department, what individually what we see with any individual bill, and I'd pick a number, it doesn't matter which bill, we can usually absorb those things, one-on-one, but by the time you get to the end of the session, there's a cumulative impact if say all of them were to pass, such that we might need to reevaluate our staffing needs at that time. We may be coming back toward the end of session to request authority for some master services agreements, some contracted staff to assist. The department did this in the 2019 session based on cumulative impacts. This was common practice at the former agency I came from over at Department of Public Safety, where we'd analyze cumulative impacts and get with legislative fiscal staff at the end. to articulate those needs. So, so specifically for Office 365, yes, we believe we can handle it. When we get to the end of session and see everything that's passed that might impact the department, we might need additional authority for some contracted resources.
I'm sure we have no other bills that are going to add anything to what you're doing.
Right.
I do have one follow-up though. Do you think that Office 365 is going to actually reduce or make it easier for your staff to support those functions that before you were doing on the regular Office?
Julie Butler for the record. We do. Office 365 offers a lot of functionality in terms of sharing documents, hosting meetings, those sorts of things. It offers better security than just your standard Office suite. So we are very excited for this change and think it will bring an additional suite of tools that we don't currently have.
And I would imagine even on the installation and everything, that's probably easier than the previous way you would have to do some of that stuff. But okay, any other questions from members? I'm looking, nothing there. I don't see any hands up. Okay, let's go on to the next budget. I believe is 4732.
Okay, and I would like to introduce Tom Connor. He's our Chief Administrative Law Judge, joining us from Las Vegas to present budget account 4732. Why don't, if with the chair's indulgence, if we could go to our next budget account. I'm not sure. It doesn't appear that Judge Connor's on the phone for some reason. So if we could go to the Administrative Services Division budget account while we figure out what's going on.
Sure, that'll give us time to get on. So let's go to 4745.
Thank you. I apologize. All right.
Morning, committee members. For the record, my name is Angela Smith. I'm the Administrator of Admin Services Division, account 4745. The Administrative Services Division we have 50 FTEs. The division provides support services to the Director's Office and all divisions of the department, which includes fiscal accounting, budgeting, auditing, payroll, warehousing, mail services, purchasing, contracting, facilities management, revenue distribution, revenue recovery service, and other related services. I would like to highlight the following budget items for our division. E605, this decision unit eliminates 2 vacant positions. These 2 positions are located in Carson City and include a management analyst 1 and an accounting assistant 1. The duties of these positions have been spread out among existing staff within the division. These positions are recommended for elimination as a cost-saving measure and result in savings of $145,201 in FY22 and $148,000 and $305 in FY23. Decision unit E729. This decision unit requests $21,935 in each year of the biennium for Office 365 software licenses for all staff within the budget account per the statewide initiative that Director Butler spoke about earlier. And lastly, the largest expense in this budget account is merchant fees. Merchant fee expenses are offset with collection of certain DMV fees, cost allocations from DMV fee-funded budgets, and highway fund revenue. We are projecting approximately $10 million in FY22 and $11 million in FY23. This results in additional funding requested of $2.6 million in FY22 and $3.5 million in FY23 over the prior biennium. Increased highway funds are needed due to increased merchant fees, decreased revenue projections, and an increase in DMV e-payment transactions. Projections for merchant fees were based on a combination of average increases in the number of transactions, an average increase in fees, and we excluded FY20 numbers due to COVID closure anomalies. That concludes my testimony on this budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I know we have several questions in this. We're going to start with Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Chair. And I guess I do have a lot of questions because it's just sinking in this idea that over the biennium we would be, we're anticipating, what is this now, $20.9 million in merchant fees or card expenditure. So my first question is, when you talked about, when you're thinking about the volume of credit and debit card transactions, what factors were considered in determining that and determining what would result in the increase of fees or merchant fees cost?
So as Julie highlighted, sorry, for the record, Angela Smith, as Julie highlighted, we collect $1.5 billion annually, and roughly $1 billion of that is collected through merchant fees. So, you know, we look at, one, with the way we're headed with the department, we're pushing online services as a convenience to customers, but we also see that as a convenience to the department. It reduces errors, it makes it easier for us to be able to collect that and offer more online services to our customer base. But the fees, I think it results in roughly over 1% of our costs for merchant fees over what we collect. So we really see this as a cost of doing business for the department. And we don't really have control over the cost. It's a contracted cost, and there's a bunch of assessment fees that are not necessarily controlled by our contract or our merchant contract. It's more of all the different fees and assessments from the credit card companies.
I understand that. I know that those are some contractual services. Before I go into my next question, though, I would like to ask, so I don't forget, what makes you anticipate that these costs will keep increasing rather than leveling off over the next biennium?
Thank you for the question. For the record, Angela Smith. We haven't seen it level off, and frankly, we keep pushing more and more services online for the convenience of the public. And DMV sees almost every Nevadan in the state just for the nature of what we do. So at this point, what we've seen is roughly a 3.81% increase year over year. And so we haven't seen that level off. I assume once we get most of our transactions online, we'll see that. But until we get more and more of our transactions online, I don't think we'll see that level off completely.
Okay, and then if I could ask the $20.9 million question, why is the department paying for this? I appreciate when you say that this is the cost of doing business, because we know it's a legitimate operational cost of being able to provide this service to Nevadans, but in so many other industries, we know that interchange charge, that service charge, merchant fee, you know, it's usually just a few dollars that's actually absorbed by the consumer. And I know that during a recent subcommittee meeting, even the Department of Taxation had expressed how they now have a flat convenience fee of 2.2%. And so I'm just wondering, is that something that the department has considered? And why or why not, or would we not be moving forward with something like that?
Thank you for the question again. For the record, Angela Smith, we have explored those options. You know, the difference is we're talking about different customer base. Again, you know, there's a lot of individuals that have to come to the DMV, and taxation has a different customer base. They have more business related customers where we serve a lot of the public where sometimes they struggle just to pay their registration. So we have thought of it. You know, when we handle cash, we looked at and did some research on that too, and it costs anywhere between 4.6% up to 15% to handle cash as well. So we have considered looking at it. Our IT did do some exploration too to see what it would take for us to implement some convenience fee in our current platform. It would be a significant effort for our IT to go to convenience fees. And we're also concerned that this would drive people to try to want to come into the office to avoid that convenience fee. And, you know, the average registration is $232. It could cost a customer from anywhere from like $5 to up to $10, and that goes up with the expense of the registration. So the more they owe, the more the customer would have to pay on that. So that's our concern, our biggest concern.
And I appreciate those concerns, but I also think that the reality is that you know, it's no secret that most Nevadans will do anything to avoid coming into the DMV. And we also pay, we pay these service charges on so many other products and services that we receive. Local stores, small businesses, you know, how many times do you see on a machine at a small business that, you know, minimum $10, or there'll be an additional $1 or whatever it is. And we all understand, you know, that those are costs incurred by the business owners. And while I don't at all want to sound shallow or inconsiderate about, you know, the concern over cost for some of the services we receive from the DMV. And as you said, $230 is already a lot of money, but given the choice, I believe that many of us, as opposed to waiting 3 hours somewhere, and especially right now with COVID and the concerns, that I would gladly pay $5 or $10 before having to come wait a few hours in the DMV. And so it just seems like $20 million over a biennium. There's so many different programs and services that I think of that we can support. And again, many of the DMV services, while they're expensive, they are things that I may be paying once a year. I'm not paying these monthly. I'm not paying them continually. And so with that, have you, when you said that IT and everything, talking about the struggle to convert over, what are some of those struggles?
Well, right now in our, for the record, Angela Smith. So right now in our current environment, it would take massive resources to reconfigure the system to be able to take convenience fees. It's certainly something we could explore under transformation. And I think it would be much easier instead of recreate programming in the current environment for that.
And Chair, one final question. I'll get it in quick, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned, because we know that there's all types of options to receive payment, electronic options, electronic checks, you know, money orders, cash, whatever. But you made a comment about that cash costs the department 10 to 15%. And can you explain that? Because I'm just not sure what you meant by that.
Oh, for the record, Angela Smith. So we just did some initial research, and the cost for handling cash could cost the department, anywhere between 4.6% to over 15%. That was research that we did just for the handling of it, armored car services, those types of expenses.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think you just covered what I was going to ask, is as you develop this new system, is that something that, as far as the merchant fees, is that something that could be built into the system? And I guess, you know, I'm sure there would be a cost associated with that, but it would probably be a lot cheaper to put that in as we develop a new system versus trying to fix what we currently have that we're just going to switch over. Is that correct?
For the record, yes, we do think that it would be easier to explore as a new option and build it as we're building our whole platform.
Yeah, that would, it seemed like it would make sense. It'd probably be a lot cheaper to build that in, you know, so that if we want to do that in the future, we can, that'll be able to, you know, to do that. Okay, let's go to any other questions on that item. I see Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to belabor this, but maybe to belabor it a little bit. We've heard about these credit card fees, and for every session I've been here now, it's been one that Chair Carlton has brought up multiple times. I'm glad to see Assemblywoman Miller has proceeded on this concern. I would really like to see a commitment. Not maybe you'll look into it, but this is just not consistent with the way every other department does business, every private merchant. And I will tell you, as Assemblywoman Miller said, I'm happy to pay the $10 extra so I don't wait in line, even in Yarrington, a rural office, which is now so behind and waiting outside. I don't think that's a small fee compared to the convenience. And to use that as an argument that people will then show up, trust me, that's not enough to make us willing to go to DMV. And I just think that we need to really get a commitment from you. And I'm sure, Chair, hopefully, they can look at this next time, and as they develop it, and as they develop these new programs and platforms, it needs to be something that maybe you'll look into. I would like to hear a commitment that you're going to look into it, give us some numbers, what that cost might be, because it is time to move forward. And again, this is the fourth time I'm hearing this budget, fourth time I'm hearing these excuses. And when we're looking at going more and more and more on just online, man, it's time to move out of the 19th century, move forward to the 21st century, and make sure that these fees are, and especially in this day and age where we are looking at our budgets and how to move forward, and that's an acceptable fee from somebody who really doesn't like fees very much. But believe me, it's time to move on. So I'd really like to hear in the future a true plan on how you're going to make this happen. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Let's see. I don't see anybody else have questions on this. Yeah.
This is Assemblywoman Peters.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to just throw out there the e-check systems. I'm not familiar enough to know whether that has a fee associated with it, or if your bank would charge a fee to have e-checks be an option. But if we're trying to get to a system that accommodates some of our lowest income community folks who have a hard time covering those fees associated with the credit or debit use, I would encourage that we look into e-check options. I know it's available in a lot of state agencies. I use it to pay a couple of my, I guess they're local bills, but it's, that technology also exists. It's not just limited to credit.
For the record, Angela Smith, we do offer that currently in our current payment platform, and we'll make sure that with transformation that is also in the new payment platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know when we talk about these fees, I think in the past, when people didn't do it as much, I could see where it might influence their ability to pay. But now, as more and more, it's pretty much standard type thing. I think people are more apt to pay to be able to do that. And I know there might be some legislative things, maybe some statutes or something that might prohibit you from doing it in different manners, a set fee versus a percentage or whatever. But I think that's something you definitely needs to, as we move forward, that needs to be on your plans. Okay, let's see. I think that's all the questions. I'm not seeing anyone else on that one. Let's go on to the next question. Assemblywoman Peters, I believe you had a question on the E605.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have a couple of questions related to the elimination of the positions I both believe are in Carson City. With regard to the management analysis position, how would the elimination of that position affect the department's ability to collect revenue? And I want to also hear about how that assessment has taken into account that this position was vacated in August 2020. So the transitions, the shifting of the responsibilities from that have occurred during a period of time when there's less processing occurring at the DMV. So if you could respond to how you've looked at the revenue collection with that vacant position, and as we recover and you start collecting more folks fees and stuff or debts, how that position elimination will be affected.
Thank you for the question. For the record, Angela Smith. The management analyst position, it was vacated. We had a retirement in that position, and so it vacated, and due to the loss of revenue, unfortunately, that was one of the positions that was vacant that we had to eliminate. This position oversees our bad debt collection unit, and it's a very small unit of 3 individuals, and so we've spread out the duties of that position among the existing staff. So we are still managing, and we haven't seen a reduction in bad debt. I mean, obviously it slowed with the revenue slow, but we were managing to spread out those duties, and you know, we're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have. The effect of the loss of the position results in delay in other lower priority duties, and so we just have to prioritize what gets the highest priority and attention, and revenue collection tends to be at the top of the list.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So within that prioritization, have you done any analysis to determine if revenue would be lost with the elimination of that position?
For the record, Angela Smith, it's kind of hard to gauge. I mean, it's still early in the process and identifying, we're not seeing, I mean, we're seeing revenue losses because of the conditions we operate in, but to pinpoint that to the loss of this one position is difficult. We continue to analyze how we're being impacted by the loss of these positions, but there's so many contributing factors to our revenue streams right now that it's hard to pinpoint the loss of this one position to specific loss of revenue.
Thank you. My next question has to do with the accounting assistant position. And can you just discuss a little bit more about the effect of that elimination of that position on the operations of the field office in Carson City?
Yes, thank you for the question. For the record, Angela Smith, that position is the position that supports multiple divisions within the department. They hand out the money bags to all of our technicians that take in the funds at the end of the day, and they balance drawers. And we've used that position in the past too, because again, in our different units, they're very small groups. And so when we have furloughs and leave, we do see some impact with coverage. So we've had to lean a little bit on our division partners to help cover if, you know, we have people call in sick or if we have somebody out on COVID leave. So again, we were just spreading that out and putting resources, sending other resources down there to help cover when needed.
Has that affected any of the operations around closing drawers or balancing and closing during this period? Since it looks like in my notes that position's been vacant since February, have you seen an increase in any issues with the drawers or anything?
For the record, Angela Smith, again, we do prioritize fund handling, and so we have not seen an increase in those issues. We just spread out the staff to cover those duties.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on this item? Not seeing, or any of the rest of the budget, any of the 7 E225. Okay, I don't see anybody. So let's go back. Can we now go back to the budget account 4732, the hearings? Were we able to get the judge on?
Tom, are you on?
I thought I saw him earlier. But
Chair Dennis, this is Julie Butler. It's my understanding he's on, but he is muted right now.
okay, does he know
Thank
how
you, Chair. This is the public comment BPS. Let me see if I can unmute my caller here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Dennis. This is Tom Connor. I'm the Chief Administrative Law Judge for the Department of Motor Vehicles Administrative Hearings Office. I'll be presenting the budget for account 4732. The hearings office provides administrative hearings to persons who have a dispute with the department and the statutory right to a hearing. Generally, our hearings concern DUI-related driver's license revocations. We do approximately 2,500 of those types of hearings annually. We also provide hearings for occupational business licensing, such as car dealers, garages, and body shops, when our licensees have a dispute with the department. We have 10 full-time employees in 3 offices. We have 2 employees in our Carson City office, an administrative law judge, and a legal secretary. We have an administrative law judge in our Reno office, and 3 administrative law judges and 3 legal secretaries in our Las Vegas office, and our legal office manager is also in our Las Vegas office. We are currently budgeted for an 11th position, which is a legal secretary position, which was traditionally in our Elko office. And in decision unit E605, we're asking that that position be eliminated. The position has been vacant since September of 2019, when the previous holder of that position retired. After that, we shifted the responsibilities of that office to our Carson City office and have not experienced any problems that we're aware of with having moved the position to Carson City. Eliminating the position will save approximately $135,000 over the biennium. Also, we're asking for, in decision unit E729, the Microsoft Office 365 software with a cost of $4,526 over the biennium. And I'm available for any questions you might have concerning the budget.
Okay. Let's see. Assemblyman Monroe Monrano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. As you mentioned in your presentation, the person that was holding the position retired in September of 2019, and those duties were absorbed by the other person in Carson City. And there didn't seem to be any issues with it, but we all know that the courts have been closed, and so the workload may have not been what it will be as we heal from this pandemic and our courts open up even more. Do you think by eliminating this position and having the Carson City legal secretary continue to support in this area, do you think they will be able to continue at the same level that they're doing, or will there be an impact as we come out of COVID to the workload?
Thank you for the question. Tom Connor for the record. I don't anticipate a problem. The legal secretary position, one of their primary responsibilities is taking requests for administrative hearings and then opening files and creating files for the judge. So with the way things go now, a person can request an administrative hearing either by phone or fax or email, and so all that responsibility goes to the Carson City office now, and there aren't that many requests for administrative hearings outside of the urban areas of the state. So our largest number of hearings come from Clark County, and then Reno and Carson City. So the volume of requests for administrative hearings from the rural counties is not that great. So if that we haven't noticed a problem, I don't anticipate we will notice a problem, because we have been doing these types of hearings since 1985, and traditionally the rural counties just don't generate that many requests for administrative review. So no, I don't anticipate a problem with keeping the position, moving the responsibility for the position to the Carson City office. Also, because of the way requests for hearings are done, we can pick up requests even here in the Las Vegas office. So if someone emails a request for hearing, we could, as long as we're all on the same email server, we could cover the hearing. We could at least cover the request for hearing and open the file here if need be. So no, I don't think that this is a situation where we're going to see a large volume of cases simply because of the reduction of COVID restrictions. I just don't think that's going to happen. It hasn't historically happened. The position was open from September of 2019 till March 2020 when the restrictions went on, and we didn't see any problem with having the position vacant at that point.
Thank you so much. That's good to know that a lot of the work, even as we continue to open up, can still be done remotely throughout the state. So thank you so much for the answer. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Goicoechea.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up kind of along where the Assemblywoman was headed. All right, now these hearings, would they be held in Elko, or technically are they done online in Carson City or Vegas?
Well, everything has been, since we've reopened, everything has been done by telephone, and we anticipate that that is going to continue. There was a change in the law concerning the location for administrative hearings in the 2009 legislative session. Prior to that, we were required to hold the hearings in the county where the person requested the hearing. We now have the authority to conduct a hearing in any county as long as the participants are allowed to testify and participate by telephone or other electronic means. So I anticipate in the future we'll probably be doing less telephonic hearings and more, video conferencing type of hearings. So the actual hearings themselves can be held anywhere in the state as long as the participant, say for example, they're in Elko, that they would have access to a phone or the internet or something like that. So yes, all of our hearings are done remotely and have been done remotely since we reopened.
Well, I appreciate that, and I was just wondering if there would be the ability maybe for one of the appellants, if they could actually go into the field office in Elko or, sit down with a staffer and then do it online, or that seems like it would be somewhat beneficial. I'm just concerned, it's well over 300 miles from Carson to Elko, and I'm not surprised you don't get a lot of appeals because, or hearing requests. Most people don't want to take 2 days and come down and do it unless it's really significant. So just anything we could do to facilitate that and at least give Northeastern Nevada, which is a long ways away from Carson or Las Vegas, at least the opportunity to have a hearing if they need one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Senator Goicoechea, to kind of address your concerns, if a person's license is revoked for a DUI, for example, if they, on the back side of their notice of revocation form, there are phone numbers that they can call. My staff is here to help anyone who wants to call us, and in any concerns they have, we'll do whatever we can to assist anyone. We understand the loss of a driver's license is a pretty major event, and we're here to assist them. If they want to have a hearing, we'll do whatever we can to make sure that they get that. They do have a right to it, and we provide that hearing.
Thank you, and just so we make sure that is available, and I'm sure they can go online, and but if they call me, I'll be sure to give them your number. Thank you.
That'd be terrific. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this item? Let me switch views. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Anybody else on this one? Okay, we're going to go on to the next one, which I believe is 4740, compliance enforcement.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. For the record, my name is J.D. Decker, Administrator of the Compliance Enforcement Division, Budget Account 4740. The Compliance Enforcement Division, also known as CED, is comprised of 54 FTEs, including 18 peace officers and 15 non-sworn investigators. CED is the regulatory arm of the Department of Motor Vehicles and consists of our occupational licensing section, industry compliance, and our investigation section. CED regulates the motor vehicle industry and also investigates fraudulent identity documents, vehicle fraud, and deceptive trade violations. I would like to highlight the following decision units submitted in the division's budget request. E300, this decision unit funds 9 portable radios to ensure that each of my 18 peace officers are equipped with vital communications in the field. E605, contributing to statewide cost-saving measures, this decision unit eliminates 2 vacant positions, 1 fraud section compliance enforcement investigator 2, and 1 DMV services technician 3, who is assigned to our occupational licensing section. The current workload is being absorbed by existing staff. E729, this decision unit requests Office 365 software licenses for all staff within the budget account per the statewide EATS initiative. E902 transfers the vehicle appraiser and inspector section consisting of 27 employees currently housed in field services into the compliance enforcement division where their duties better align with CED's responsibilities. And that is it. I'm available to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you. I think we have a question on this one. Zimmerman Watts, and then we'll go to Zimmerman Tolles.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick questions. Could you just speak a little bit more about the elimination of this compliance and enforcement investigator position and how that will affect the work of the division?
JD Decker, for the record, through Chair Dennis to Assemblyman Watts. That position was vacant in February prior to the shutdown. So the existing workload was being absorbed by existing staff. We're in a position right now in CED where because of the bottleneck with field services and the trouble that we have getting in under the current COVID guidelines, getting customers in, where our volume has decreased in CED as far as fraud cases. So we're able to spend more time on larger cases. To be perfectly honest, the crime occurs whether we're attacking it or not. So our volume has decreased, but it's allowed our existing investigators to focus on current needs. I will say it's no question that existing state employees are working hard, absorbing workload that was previously handled by more employees. So I want to make sure that doesn't go unsaid. But people in this department are happy to do what's necessary to keep the state running, and we're happy to be employed, and we're happy to contribute to this current situation. As far as the occupational business license position that was eliminated, that was another position that was also vacant, with the workload currently being absorbed by existing staff. That workload, there was a break during the shutdown. The renewals for occupational business licenses occur on the same time period for all of a certain type of license. So we were able to work in the background, making sure that those renewals were processed. So we came out of the shutdown during reopening with no backlog in the occupational licensing section. So this was a customer-facing position in which we're in a situation where we're trying to handle most of what we can online or without customer interaction. So there's little impact for that position.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. I appreciate some of the additional information. I was going to ask about the other position as well, and certainly appreciate all your service to the state. I guess I have a quick follow-up, which is, we're looking at the next 2 years in the biennium, and obviously we've seen a decrease in some of these caseloads due to the pandemic, but I'm just wondering how you see this playing out over the course of the biennium with eliminating these positions and, potentially increasing workload for these areas.
JD Decker, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblyman Watts. Thank you for the question. I think that we will see unanticipated things on the fraud side from resulting from the shutdown and delays in people being able to handle transactions over the next couple of years that will probably result in us coming back in 2023 with budget requests to add people, possibly the positions that have currently been cut. But I do anticipate that that this would not be a permanent situation for us, that would be absorbed by our existing employees.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Tolles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and actually Assemblyman Watts asked my question, so maybe it's just more of a follow-up comment that I have just some real concerns about eliminating those positions moving forward. I know that, hindsight being 2020, we wished we had invested more in DETR before COVID because of the impact of fraud and backlogs and so forth. And we know that those cases, like you said, have not stopped occurring. And if anything, we might see an increase as we reopen and as we have, an influx of new population as we grow. And I'd just be really, really concerned that this body would be in a position 2 years from now and 4 years from now really regretting eliminating those two positions. So just want to get that on the record.
Thank you. Yeah, Senator Goicoechea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to just follow up a little bit on the comments of Assemblywoman Tolles. The second most frequent complaint I get is from DMV, their inability to either access or pay. I agree with the Assemblywoman. I'm afraid that we are seeing a reduction in service. I do think you're getting a backlog. People just aren't registering vehicles. Again, whether it's compliance and enforcement, the big trucks, or even just somebody renewing their own personal car. And I am concerned as we move forward, we're going to continue to see a decline in the revenues for the department and a growth in a backlog. And I also, I have the same concerns as Assemblywoman Tolles. I'm afraid we're creating a tar baby here that we're going to have a hard time getting out of. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Let's go on to, so then let's go on to Central Services 4741.
All right, try again. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is April Sanborn, Administrator of the Central Services Division, or Budget Account 4741. Central Services is the department's second largest division, comprised of 130 FTEs located in the Carson City office. We are charged with overseeing back office transactions and complex customer issues pertaining to vehicle ownership, license plates and registration, driver licensing and identification, and records management and retention, as well as supporting other divisions and customers through our mailroom, document processing, and customer or call center units. So today I would like to highlight the following decision units affecting our division. E605 seeks to eliminate 10 vacant positions consisting of 7 DMV services technicians and 3 microfilm operators as a cost-saving measure. And as previously mentioned by Director Butler, E729 requests funds in the amount of $53,486 in fiscal year 22 and 23 for Office 360 software licenses for all staff within Budget Account 4741 for the Department of Administration's initiative of applying consistency across all agencies. So that includes the overview of Budget Account 4741, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Senator Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Dennis. Good morning, Ms. Sanborn. And I just wanted to see if you could maybe give me an update on the backlog that has been created by COVID-19 and the closure of the offices, and how our current backlog compares to previous backlogs. just kind of a comparison, if you would.
Okay, thank you for the question. For the record, April Sanborn, to you, Chair Dennis, or to you, Senator Brooks, through Chair Dennis, my apologies. So yes, obviously, all of the issues that all of us are experiencing right now have affected our ability to process transactions in the way that we are all accustomed to. And so let me just give you just a rough idea. I'll just walk you through a real quick, simple transaction of pre-COVID and what we're dealing with now to give you an idea. So if you were to send in a registration renewal by mail to our Central Services Division pre-COVID, we would process that within 1 to 3 business days. And a customer could expect to receive that registration in about 7 to 10 business days. With what the staffing levels that we are experiencing right now, if you were to mail in that same registration today, we will not be able to process it currently today for almost 30 days. And so once we then mail it out, there are also other delays with our mailing service, with the U.S. Post Office. So it's causing excess delays for the customer to be able to get the registration in their hands.
And so is there like a way to quantify numerically what the backlog looks like right now in you know, individual transactions or people that need to be served?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. For the record, April Sanborn, excuse me, to you, Senator Brooks, through you, Chair Dennis. So we have in this budget account, there are 9 separate units processing transactions, different types of transactions. And so I've highlighted 4 of the most critical units right now, the ones that I think are of the most concern, and that's going to be our titling unit. And so right now we're at a 27-day backlog. So it's going to take us 27 days to be able to even get to that title once we receive it. And so that's approximately we're receiving about 2,400 titles daily. And so registration renewal by mail, and I apologize. And so for the registration, as I mentioned, we're at about a 30-day backlog, and we receive about 400 of those in daily. Driver's license renewal by mail, we have a 9-day backlog on that one, and address changes are at a 6-day backlog, which is roughly the renewals, about 1,200 of those that we're receiving daily, and on the address changes, about 120 of those daily. So, and with those driver's license, the 9 days, we would usually get those out in 2 to 3 days. So just to give you a perspective on that. And then the last unit that is of the most critical need right now is our call center. Obviously with our offices not working at full capacity and our backlogs and our call times and such, it's difficult for us to be able to communicate with all the customers, as I mentioned, in the manner that we're all accustomed to. So we right now are receiving about 1,000 phone calls a day and about a 19-minute hold time. And then our emails, we're receiving at about 4,000 emails a day, and we're about 3 weeks to be able to respond to those emails.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. That draws the picture of pre and post. And so how would the elimination of these 10 positions in this particular budget here, how would that impact that backlog?
Thank you for the question. For the record, April Sanborn, through you, Chair, to you, Senator Brooks. So as I mentioned, we are unable to process transactions in the manner that we're all accustomed to. So we are informing our customers and getting the word out that these are our new wait times. With the current staffing level that we have, you know, we're getting creative on a daily basis. Our leadership team meets every morning and sometimes several times throughout the day to assess the most critical need of the day. And so we are shifting our employees to go ahead and get in and handle those transactions where the most critical need exists. And again, it's a daily shuffle. Sometimes it's hourly. You know, as you've heard before, other divisions are helping out. Everybody's stepping in to help out where the most critical need exists so that we can ensure that we're getting those excuse me, tax dollars out to the counties so that they can, support their communities. If I may go on one more point, I apologize. So we also have brought in temporary staff. We have 8 on staff right now, and so they're able to help us out in obviously if there's some onboarding and training to be able to manage transactions in certain units. But we have we're using them in areas, as simple as opening up envelopes. That really saves time for technicians to be able to go in and process more complicated transactions. So we're using those wherever we can to help offset some of the backlogs.
Thank you, Ms. Sanborn. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there, go ahead.
My question. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else have questions on this item? Senator Goicoechea.
Part of a comment, and I guess just along the lines where we were at the last budget, when we're talking 30-day delays, that equates into revenue, and we just continue to push this out. So, I'm really struggling with how we can look at reducing positions when we're sitting here with the 30, 50-day backlog. We're here for public service.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. So let's go on now to, make sure I got the right one. The next one, which is field services, 4735.
Good morning. For the record, I am Tanya Laney, the administrator of the Field Services Division. Good morning, Chair Dennis and members of the committee. Today I'm going to be going over budget account 4735. The Field Services Division is comprised of 772 FTEs. This division provides the front counter face-to-face customer service for both commercial and non-commercial customers. These services are accomplished through our 16 non-commercial offices and 2 commercial DMV offices across the state, also partnering with and overseeing 8 assessor locations and 5 AAA locations who also offer assistance with DMV transactions. Today, I would like to highlight the following decision units affecting our division. Decision Unit E605. This decision unit eliminates 35 vacant field services positions. Of those 35, 1 employee development manager and 34 DMV service technicians from our 5 Metro field services offices. Decision Unit E729. This decision unit requests $316,389 in fiscal year 22 and the same in fiscal year 23 for Office 365 software licenses for all staff within the budget account per enterprise IT services initiative to have all agencies on the same platform. Decision Unit E902 requests to transfer 27 vehicle appraisers and inspectors from the Field Services Division to the Compliance Enforcement Division, as the duties of these positions better align with those of the department's regulatory arm, which is compliance enforcement. That is a brief overview of the Field Services Division, and I would be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Peters.
Thank you, Chair. My questions have to do with the elimination of 35 vacant positions. And it's my understanding that these are in the metropolitan offices. Can you describe how those, how the DMV is determining the distribution of these position eliminations across those 5 field offices?
Great question, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to the Assemblywoman. At the time that the positions were given up, the vacancies were in several offices across the state. What our plan is moving forward is that through the legislative session, we will make sure that at the end of the session, we do a true up to evenly distribute the positions that were lost. What we did realize through the elimination of the vacancies at the time is that it was a little heavier in Northern Nevada versus the 4 Metro offices in Southern Nevada. So that is something that we are reviewing and that through session, once the final decisions have been made, we will work with our budget team in our offices to make sure that those vacancies are evenly distributed.
That will be curious to see. And then I have a follow-up question about can you describe what the effects would be of the elimination of the 34 services technician positions, and what that would have, what the effects would be on the field offices and their abilities to serve customers?
Thank you again, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Peters. That is a great question. Throughout the restrictions with COVID and the loss of the staff that we've had in our field services, we obviously continue to adjust on a daily basis, depending on what we're looking at with the customers outside of the offices waiting, the number of appointments that we have. As we do bring in positions for vacancies that we're able to fill through the justification to fill process, we're constantly readjusting. We have, while the offices have had capacity limits for the customers, just based on 50% capacity of fire code in the buildings, we adjusted quickly to those types of situations where we have feeder lines in our metro offices, and we have as many people as we can in lines ready, waiting to go to the windows, versus pre-COVID where they were sitting in a chair waiting to get a text on their phone. And then if you calculate the walk time, if you will, from getting the message to come to a window versus now where we have a feeder line and that customer's eagerly awaiting their turn with the next technician that's available, we're sending them right to the windows. So throughout the different restrictions and the challenges that we've been seeing with staffing, we do adjust on a daily basis to make sure that the number one priority, which is the window coverage, is covered. Between the vacancies and then the furloughs, COVID, employees being out with COVID symptoms or being a contact of a COVID case, we do pull some of our staff from our back office functions. So besides the window staff in field services, we have staff behind the scenes that are processing fleet services, titles, correspondence for special plates, registration services, packets that are dropped off. So to adjust to make sure that the window coverage maintains our number one priority, we will pull those staff from those back office areas to cover the windows. And so then we do create a delay or a little bit of a backlog in the background. If losing the 35 or the 34 positions in total from the front windows, we would just continue what we're doing now, looking for efficiencies and utilizing the staff from those back office functions to cover the front windows.
Just have one quick follow-up, Chair Dennis, if I may.
Go ahead.
Can you discuss a little bit about why the positions are vacant in the first place? Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Peters. Again, with having 772 FTEs in the field services division, that's just our natural turnover. We have staff that promote into other positions, that leave the DMV to go to other state agencies, that leave the DMV to go to private industry. Lots of different reasons for the vacancies. That was just a snapshot in time of the vacancies that we had. Again, with being the largest division, our largest cost in field services is the cost of personnel. So when we were looking at the percentage that we needed to make for the cuts, that's where we looked. The number did start off higher for us. We did work with the director and our team, and we made sure that we kept our rural offices staffed where they were, and that the cuts were only taken from the metro office locations. But as far as the number, it was just a snapshot of that point in time of what we had vacant.
With kind of natural attenuation, will we expect to see additional vacancies after elimination of these existing vacant positions?
Tanya Laney, for the record, can you repeat the question? I didn't quite understand.
So you said that it's just the nature of turnover for a department the size of yours right now. So with the elimination of those 34 existing vacant positions, would we expect to see the remaining positions additionally be vacated, right, at kind of the same rate, and then see additional vacancies throughout the biennium?
Thank you for the question, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Peters. Yes, we do have an average vacancy rate that does continue throughout our history, again, of the staff promoting or moving to other agencies or going to private industry or leaving because of retirement. As far as additional cuts to vacant positions, we don't anticipate that at this time. So we would, as the position becomes vacant, we go through the JTF process to request to fill those positions. Once that JTF is approved, then we open up the position through recruitment. The recruitment is usually anywhere from 7 to 14 days, depending on how we open the position internally or externally. And then we go through the interview process and fill those positions. So that is a timely process. And so we do see that when we have vacancies, that some of them do stay vacant for some time. And then as we fill those positions, then we do occur vacancies in the interim. I'm not sure what the numbers look like currently with the number of staff that are still vacating those positions to leave for other positions outside of the DMV. It's been a little bit since I've looked at it. I think that possibly has slowed down a little bit, with COVID. But we do have a standard vacancy rate no matter how many positions we have filled.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions on this item? I am not seeing any. All right, let's go to the second, the E902, Ms. Monroe Moreno. I believe you have a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions about this item and then just an overall question that maybe Ms. Butler will be able to answer. But as we look at E902, the positions that are being transferred, some of them handle the vehicle inspections, appraisal, the out-of-state dealers, and transfers from other states. As we looked for those transfers, can you tell us how the transfers of the inspector appraiser position allow for greater efficiency for the department as we're talking about all these currently vacated positions? Some of them are being eliminated. How is this going to help with efficiency in the department?
Thank you for the question again, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis. With those positions, their duties would remain the same. Where we create the efficiency through the switchover from the Field Services Division to the Compliance Enforcement Division is when those inspectors or appraisers come across potential fraud or issues that they're seeing in the industry. Our appraisers deal with abandoned vehicles, with tow yards, and then of course the inspectors deal with the out-of-state vehicle transfers that are coming into the state. There could be title fraud, it could be a vehicle theft. Instead of going through the chain of command in Field Services that does not have the authority in statute to address those issues, they go right through the chain of command of Compliance Enforcement who are better equipped and have the authority to address those issues. So what it does is it takes out two different chains of communication and just gives them a direct chain so those issues can be addressed much quicker than going through two different divisions.
That makes sense. Following the natural chain of command and cutting down on time, processing time. That makes a lot of sense. And that takes me out to my next question. When we looked at the governor's recommendations for the transfers of the positions of the compliance enforcement budget, the cost allocation that was associated with that budget, could you explain to us why the FT driven cost allocation was not recommended to be updated based on the transfer of those positions to the compliance enforcement budget, which will result in the fee-funded motor vehicle pollution control budget contributing less? How is that going to balance out between the two?
Again, Tanya Laney, for the record, through you, Chair, to the Assemblywoman, I apologize. I actually do not have that information, but I do believe that we have somebody from our Administrative Services Division down in Carson City that was going to be able to answer that question if it came up, being our fiscal experts and the ones that work more closely in this area.
Thank you.
Chair Dennis, Julie Butler, DMV Director, for the record, through you to Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Staff is aware of this issue and is working with legislative fiscal staff to analyze the cost allocation, and we'll make any adjustments as necessary.
Thank you. Thank you. We would appreciate that. And once you have worked that out, if you could get that to our staff, that would be great. And then I just have a follow-up to kind of a general question. As we look at this budget, and I think you've heard it through a number of the legislators in their questioning, when we talk about eliminating vacant positions, would it be easier or would it be better to hold some vacant positions open so that if you need those positions later, you wouldn't have to come back to the legislative body to ask to add those back to your staffing pattern instead of eliminating some? Would it be, had you thought about just leaving some positions just remaining vacant for the biennium?
Thank you for the question, Julie Butler, for the record, through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. The issue that we ran into in building this budget was twofold. One was the governor's finance office's 2 times rule, meaning that we have to hold expenditures for the upcoming biennium to 2 times your odd numbered year expenditure, so 2 times 21, and then the statutory cap. And so when we hold positions vacant and don't fill them, it still counts against the cap because we budget as if those positions are filled. And so it really isn't a spending problem for the department. What we're really seeing is a revenue problem in that, normally in years past, the department has been able to offset a lot of its expenditures by the fees that it collects. Now what you're seeing as a result of COVID and the closures and our inability to process things as timely as we have in years past, we're having to offset our budgets a lot more with highway fund than you've seen in years past. And so just this combination is kind of this perfect storm event where the checkbook is what it is. And so in order to meet that, and it was really a very difficult decision to put forward to cut the positions. We didn't enter into that decision lightly, but what we felt like is what's really going to dig us out is technology. And so we really felt it important to ask for our transformation effort, because ultimately, when we've got 4,000 emails coming in a day, you're not going to be able, and in 3 weeks for persons going one by one by one to answer those, it's not sustainable. So we felt it more prudent to ask for funding and technology, but unfortunately that meant that we had to ask for those positions to be cut to meet those caps.
And thank you so much for answering that. I completely understand and appreciate the move that you're making for technology, but that just kind of makes me echo what my colleagues had said earlier in the discussion today as we were discussing budget 4745. As we look at changing and improving in technologies, we really, really, really need to look at and rethink those credit card fees to help with maybe offset some other things. So, Mr. Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on this item? I'm not seeing anybody. I know Assemblywoman Peters has wants to go back on the previous one. She had an additional question. So let's go to that.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I missed a question I had on E605 related to the employee development manager position. Since that position has never been filled, how has the division ensured the training of DMV, AAA, and county assessors staff?
Thank you, Tanya Laney, for the record, again through you, Chair Dennis, to Assemblywoman Peters. We currently have 4 trainers statewide on staff with the DMV. We have 2 in the north and 2 in the south. To maintain the social distancing requirements and bring staff on, we're doing a combination of things. We have the workload spread out between those 4 trainers, and then we also ask for assistance through our senior staff to do some more hands-on training with the staff, on the job training on the window earlier than we would traditionally see through having pre-COVID times where we'd have large academies and then we would rotate staff in and out of the academy and then onto the floor. So that position was going to be a new position to the DMB that we had acquired last legislative session that was going to have oversight over that training team, in addition to the oversight of the training of our third-party participants, such as AAA and the assessors, who also process transactions for the DMB, to be able to make sure that we are staying up to speed with having consistency between the DMB and the AAAs and the assessors. We do have staff that we rotate through on a volunteer basis, supervisory staff and audit staff that are checking in regularly with those DMB partners to make sure that they are consistently doing the processes as we would do them in a DMB office, which is what that position was going to be utilized for.
Thank you.
Okay, just a quick follow-up on that. Do you find with the trainers that, and I know this isn't on the question, but I just have a question, it just came up. Do you find that you've got it split two for the north, two for the south? Is the work evenly divided between the north and south when it comes to training needs of the department?
Thank you, Chair Dennis. Again, Tanya Laney for the record, a great question. We do. So even though we have 2 and 2 and we have the bulk of our staff in the south versus the north, our trainers here in the north are program officer 3s, where the ones in the south are program officer 2s. So even though the academies in the north may be smaller because they provide assistance to the 2 metro offices and some of the outlying rural offices, they have additional duties, such as making sure that any of the legislative changes that come up or any of the federal changes that come up are implemented into our training programs. Whereas the 2 trainers that we have in the south focus 100% on those training academies without having to worry about updating the curriculum or doing anything of that nature. The ones in the north also assist with additional training needs that the department may have outside of the just the regular training of the new hire academies, assisting with Smart 21, things of those natures where training becomes a need of the department. And then we have, again, staff volunteers at the office level in each one of the metros that also assist as our SMEs or trained staff trainers, if you will, that will take on the job training after the new hire academy portions are completed. So we do see that we have a good work balance between those positions being split 2 in the north and 2 in the south.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I was just wondering if it wasn't, if you were sending people down from the north to help with down south, but it sounds like it's pretty even. I just remember years ago, at least on the technology side, I remember nothing to do with DMV, but they had one computer person for Southern Nevada and they had a whole department up in the north, and most of the employees were, and so anytime there was a problem, they had to fly somebody down to Las Vegas to work on computers, and it never made sense to me. So whenever I see stuff like that, I ask, because we want to make sure we're efficient in that. So, okay, any other questions on this item, or actually for that matter, this is our last budget. Did we miss anything? Any other ones that anybody needed? I am not seeing anything. So we are done with the budgets. We will now move on to our next item on the agenda, which is public comment.
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time. Would you like to take a 2-minute break to allow people watching online time to call in?
I guess I should unmute. Yes, let's give it just a minute. I know there's a delay between live and what they're hearing, so let's give them at least a minute.
Thank you, Chair. Broadcast standing by. Thank you, Chair Dennis. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody today for the presentation from DMV and as well as for our staff, and great questions, and hopefully we got the answers that we needed. And so with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the Public Safety and Natural Resource Transportation Joint Subcommittee this morning, and we will see you at our next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.